Close your eyes for an instant. Imagine that everything around you, the ground you walk on, the air you breathe, the people who cross your path, is merely a reflection, an image projected from what you silently hold within yourself. Imagine that there is no chance, luck, or coincidence. Everything is law, and this law responds without fail to what you assume to be true. This is the basis of conscious creation. And that is why when someone says a phrase with true faith, the universe bows. Not because the words have power, but because the speaker becomes the power behind them. Most people live believing that money is out there, distant, hidden in some opportunity, in some job, in some stroke of luck. They don't understand that money is not something to be conquered, it is something to be reflected. The material world is merely a mirror. It shows with perfect precision what you believe yourself to be. That is why some work hard and remain poor, while others speak gently and attract wealth effortlessly. It is not work that creates abundance. It is the inner state. When I say use this phrase once, I am not talking about magic, superstition, or enchanted words. I'm talking about an inner command, a silent decision where you recognize, I am the cause, the world is the effect. In that instant, you cease being a creature asking the universe to act, and you become the creator who gives orders to reality itself. You awaken to what you have always been, the center of consciousness that molds all forms, the invisible breath that moves circumstances. The phrase is merely the key, but the key only works if turned with the right consciousness, and that consciousness is the unshakable knowledge that you lack nothing, that abundance is already yours, that money, like all expressions of energy, is attracted by the vibrant field of one who already is what they wish to be. If you say the words only with your lips, nothing will change. But if you pronounce them with an awakened heart, with the certainty of one who does not doubt, then you will see the response emerge, sometimes so naturally, so perfectly, that it will seem like coincidence. It's not coincidence, it's law. Everything you see is merely the shadow of what you have assumed to be true in the invisible, and whoever masters this truth no longer needs to chase anything, because the world chases them. First, understand the nature of the seed. Everything you affirm in the present is planted in the invisible and will take form in the visible. Creation does not respond to I want or one day I will have. It responds to I am. I am is the Creator's password. That is why Scripture reveals the name as I am, and that is why it says, tell the weak, I am strong. It is not poetry, it is spiritual technology. When you declare I am the wealth the world reflects, you are not describing your account balance. You are defining the state that will govern what the account, people, and circumstances will be obliged to reflect. The effect bows to the cause. The cause is your assumed state now. See life symbolically. The field is the world, the seed is your affirmation in the present, the soil is your imagination. You plant once and seal it. No one plants and digs up the soil every hour to see if the seed has sprouted. That kills the seed. Likewise, repeating out of desperation, checking for signs, measuring results every minute, is to unearth the creation. Plant and water with silence, gratitude, and consistent conduct. Anticipatory gratitude is water. Confident silence is light. Consistent action is warmth. Within 24 hours, the invisible finds ways to present itself. An unexpected call, an invitation, a discount, an advance payment, an old sale that unlocks, an agreement that seemed stalled and moves forward. Do not demand how, that is the field's part. Beware of subtle negations. You might say, I am prosperous, and 5 minutes later, sigh, complain about the price, refuse to see an opportunity, or recount a tale of bad luck. This is uprooting the seed and planting another of scarcity. The law has no humor. It merely mirrors what you uphold. That is why internal discipline is gold. When the old mind comes with, what if it doesn't come? Respond with posture, not with words. Breathe, straighten your shoulders, see yourself as already having received, and go about your day as one who knows. A king does not explain decrees, he issues them. Practical exercise to seal the seed. Close your eyes for 60 seconds. Relax your tongue, release your abdomen, breathe through your nose. See for an instant a simple post-fact. not fireworks, but a detail of completed reality. You saying thank you after seeing a receipt, you putting away your phone after a payment message, you calmly closing your wallet, feeling the lightness of one who has. Feel the scene, do not observe it from outside. You are within it. Then pronounce just once internally as one signing a decree, I am the wealth the world reflects. Open your eyes and drop the subject. During the day, confirm the seed through behavior. Pay small things without fear. Organize your accounts with order and appreciation. Treat opportunities with readiness. This is not forcing manifestation. It is acting in accordance with who you already are. Remember Abraham. He called things which are not as though they were. This is how creation works. You call in the present, and the present governs the future. Plant correctly, seal with silence, water with gratitude, and walk as one who has. The rest is harvest. The second truth is to understand that imagination is not fantasy. It is the altar where creation happens. Everything that exists in the physical world was first accepted in the inner world. There are no exceptions. The common person's error is to treat imagination as child's play, while treating reality as something solid and immutable. But the initiate, the one who awakens to the law, does the opposite. They honor their imagination as the only sacred place where things truly originate. That is why Christ said, when you pray, go into your room and shut the door. The room is the mind, and the door is the turning off of the sensory world. Inside you do not ask, you create. Imagination is the soul's studio. When you imagine something and feel it to be real, you are molding the invisible substance of life. It does not distinguish between the real and the imagined. It merely reproduces what is assumed with feeling. If you see yourself as poor, humiliated, lacking, and feel this as truth, no matter what you say afterward, that is the state the law will obey. Imagination is a faithful servant. It does not judge, does not question, it merely reflects. Therefore, the first task for anyone desiring abundance is to purify the imagination. It is to abandon scenes of lack and consciously inhabit the image of fullness. Try this now. Close your eyes and see yourself not asking but possessing. See yourself living the result, not the process. Do not see money coming, see money already arrived. See yourself breathing a sigh of relief, feeling the weight of gratitude in your chest, observing the glow of prosperity as something natural. Feel this internal reality until it completely replaces the world around you. Emotion is the seal of creation. What you feel deeply already exists in the invisible and will begin to press upon the physical world to become visible. The rational mind will say, but it hasn't happened yet. And this is where the disciple separates from the common person. The disciple smiles and responds, yes, it has happened within me. They know that everything seen is born of the invisible, and that persisting in the inner vision is more powerful than chasing external appearances. Therefore, while the world rushes, they remain quiet, imagining with faith. And time, obedient, merely organizes circumstances. Imagination is not escape, it is mastery. To escape is to dream without faith. To master is to imagine with consciousness. The person who imagines with purpose does not try to manipulate others, but their own inner state. They do not say, they should pay me. They say, I am the one who receives. They do not say, I hope it works out. They say, I am the one for whom everything flows correctly. This inversion is the beginning of freedom. Thus, when you say, I am the wealth the world reflects, do not visualize banknotes, safes, or numbers. Visualize the feeling. See yourself as the source. See money as a reflection, not as a goal. Imagination is the mirror of eternity. It creates the invisible, and the world bows to copy it. Whoever understands this never begs again, because they perceive that imagination sustained with faith is the true treasure, and from it, all visible wealth inevitably springs. The third truth is to understand the role of time. Time is neither punishment nor obstacle. It is the means by which the invisible becomes visible. The impatient person destroys their own harvest because they do not understand that every creation needs to mature. They plant and want to reap at the same instant, but the law does not work under anxiety. It works under certainty. When you say, within 24 hours, do not impose haste, impose faith. Physical time is merely the necessary movement for the invisible to organize itself around your assumption. It is like lighting a flame in a dark room. It does not create the room, it merely reveals what was already there. Time is the ally of one who knows how to wait with consciousness. It is not the empty waiting of one who doubts, but the powerful waiting of one who has already decided. Time works for the person who trusts, because when you assume the state of wealth, the unconscious mind, which is the matrix of all reality, begins to adjust facts, people, and circumstances to reflect that. You may not see the movement, but it is in progress. It is at this point that many give up, saying nothing happened. But what they call nothing is merely the invisible stage of manifestation. Just as a grain germinates in the dark before breaking through the earth, your assumptions also need this period of silence. When you declare, I am the wealth the world reflects, the universe begins a reorganization. Ideas emerge, doors open, synchronicities appear. But to perceive them, you need inner calm. One who lives watching the clock is affirming absence. Time bows only to those who ignore it, to those who live as if they have already received. Therefore, the secret is not to make time rush, but to rest in it. Rest is the proof of faith. Observe the cycles of nature. The sun rises and sets effortlessly, the seasons change without warning, flowers open without anxiety. Everything flows in harmony because everything operates under the same law. Haste is human, creation is divine. One who aligns with the rhythm of the invisible discovers that life is never late. It merely reveals at the exact moment. When you trust, time becomes your servant. When you doubt, it becomes your prison. So, when you say the phrase, feel time as your ally, say it once and enter into rest. Do not expect something to happen. Recognize that it has already happened. The interval between the invisible and the visible is merely the space where your faith is tested. Remain firm, not because of circumstances, but because of the inner knowledge that everything is already fulfilled. You do not need to see the seed sprout to know it is alive. You do not need to see the money to know it is coming. Time is merely the path between the decree and the harvest, and one who walks with certainty has already arrived, even before seeing the destination. The fourth truth is that anticipatory gratitude is the seal of manifestation. It is proof that you have already assumed the desired state and ceased to be a supplicant, becoming a creator. When you give thanks before seeing, you are affirming that it already exists in the invisible, and that the visible is merely adjusting to reflect it. Gratitude is not a superficial emotion, nor an optimism technique. It is a silent declaration of mastery. I have already received. The ungrateful implore, the grateful command. And that is why gratitude is a portal. It instantly places you in the state of possession, and everything corresponding to that state begins to move toward you. You can say thank you without feeling anything, and it will have no power. But if you say it with a full heart, as one who truly recognizes the miracle fulfilled, that vibration touches the invisible and accelerates the return. Gratitude is faith in the form of feeling. And since the law does not respond to words but to states, it moves immediately in favor of one who vibrates with certainty. The person who gives thanks for what they do not yet see demonstrates that they have understood the secret. They need no proof because the feeling itself is the proof. Practice this now. Upon awakening, do not think about what is missing. Close your eyes and say silently, not as one who pleads, but as one who ascertains, thank you because everything is already resolved. Do not say it out of habit. Say it as one contemplating something achieved. Imagine yourself surrounded by signs of abundance, not empty luxury, but real fullness. See life responding to you with ease. The simple act of giving thanks transforms the field. Where there is gratitude, there is no resistance. And where there is no resistance, manifestation flows. The small mind will say, but how can I give thanks for something I don't yet have? And it is precisely here that the dreamer separates from the creator. The dreamer needs to see to believe. The creator believes and then sees. Giving thanks beforehand is the same as sealing an invisible contract with your own consciousness. It is saying to life, I know it has already been done. And life, faithful to the law, confirms it. Gratitude is also the purest form of faith because it eliminates fear. No one fears losing what they are fully grateful for. Fear is the absence of gratitude, and gratitude dissolves fear as the sun dissolves mist. Therefore, each time doubt tries to infiltrate, give thanks. Do not fight with doubt. It loses strength when you ignore it and turn your attention to certainty. So when you say, "I am the wealth the world reflects," close your eyes and feel gratitude rise like a gentle wave. Not for what will come, but for what already is. Say thank you, not with haste, but with reverence, as one who touches the invisible with the hands of the heart. This is the vibration that moves mountains, that opens paths, that transforms the invisible into form. Gratitude is the Creator's signature, and when it is genuine, the universe hastens to fulfill the decree. The fifth truth is silence. Silence is the seal of faith, the Creator's final act before the invisible becomes visible. After the word is spoken with conviction, the truly wise person becomes silent. They do not argue with the world, do not seek signs, do not explain what they have done. They know that creation is already complete and that, from that instant, time's role is merely to reveal what is already determined in the invisible. Silence is the rest of the spirit that knows, and knowing, in its highest sense, is feeling one with the desired outcome. Without doubt, without effort, without noise. The common person talks too much because they doubt. They repeat their prayers, watch for results, compare days, analyze signs. Each time they do this, they unconsciously affirm that it has not yet happened, and thus they interrupt the flow of creation. But one who has learned the law acts like a king, gives their order and proceeds in peace. There is no anxiety in one who has authority. There is no haste in one who already knows the order has been fulfilled. Silence is, therefore, the language of those who know power. It is in silence that energy organizes itself, that pieces move, that the invisible works in your favor. The word casts the seed, silence allows it to sprout. If you talk too much, you interrupt the process. If you become silent, the universe responds. Therefore, after declaring, "I am the wealth the world reflects," silence yourself internally and externally. Do not doubt, do not repeat, do not question. Live as one who already possesses, and the world will hasten to confirm. True silence is not merely the absence of sound, it is the internal stillness that arises when the mind ceases to interfere. It is certainty without explanation, the serenity of one who needs no proof. This calm is magnetic, it attracts the fulfillment of the word. When you become silent internally, the world speaks for you. Circumstances, people, and coincidences move like invisible servants to give form to your decree. And when the mind comes with its noises, will it work out? What if it doesn't come? What if I'm mistaken? Remember, this is just the old state trying to survive. Breathe and return to center. Do not respond. Silence is your answer. Creation needs no defense. It merely needs permanence. The true master does not live explaining the law. They demonstrate it by the way they walk, speak, and look. Silence is the conscious creator's final gesture. It is in silence that faith becomes power, and power becomes fact. Therefore, after speaking once, trust. Money will come, not because you pleaded, but because you commanded. And one who knows who they are does not need to repeat the command. The universe recognizes them by the vibration of their silence. Now understand, nothing more remains to be sought outside. Everything you looked for, money, opportunities, security, recognition, has always been within you, merely waiting to be recognized. The world was never the cause of your condition, only the mirror of what you believed yourself to be. The beggar and the king live under the same sky, but what separates them is the inner state each chooses to inhabit. You were not born to implore, but to command, not to fear, but to create, not to be molded by circumstances, but to mold them by the silent power of consciousness. Use this truth with reverence. When you say, "I am the wealth the world reflects," know that you are invoking the eternal principle of creation. Say it once with faith, and look back no more. Do not seek proof, be the proof. Walk with the demeanor of one who already possesses, and see how the world reorganizes around you. People will change their attitudes, doors will open, Opportunities will seem to arise from nowhere, but nothing will be chance. Everything will be a response. From now on, refuse to beg for change. No external force will decide your destiny. You are the center of creation. It is consciousness that dictates what matter must do. Speak little, imagine clearly, feel deeply, and then rest. What has been assumed with conviction cannot fail to manifest because the law knows no exceptions. So go, not as one who waits, but as one who knows. Walk with the serenity of one who already has. Speak with the calm of one who has already seen. And give thanks with the joy of one who has already received. From this moment, command the world to align with your state. And it will, because the world is not greater than you. The world is you, revealed in form. There are words that do not belong to common vocabulary, words not learned from books, nor uttered in mechanical prayers. They are ancient codes, buried in the soul's memory, forgotten by a humanity accustomed to asking instead of commanding. These are the forbidden words, not because someone censored them, but because few possess enough awareness to pronounce them without destroying their own illusions. When spoken with understanding, they don't merely echo in the air. They reconfigure the substance of the world. The common person believes power lies in actions, opportunities, and others. They live as a servant of chance, fearing the future and worshipping the visible. But the one who awakens discovers a secret older than any religion. The universe does not respond to gestures, it responds to states. And these states are shaped by inner words, the silent declarations that the I am upholds even when lips are sealed. Understand, the verb creates. Every word is a vibrational seed planted in the deep mind. What you say about yourself is what life hastens to confirm. And that's why these words are dangerous for those who are still asleep, because they do not distinguish good from evil, right from wrong. They merely manifest what is affirmed with conviction. The universe has no moral sense, it has vibrational precision. It returns with absolute fidelity what a person declares themselves to be. Therefore, when I speak of forbidden words, I'm not referring to hidden sounds, but to a state of consciousness few can bear, the state of knowing oneself as creator, of understanding that I am is the name of God and that to pronounce it is to take possession of one's own divinity. There is no distance between a person and a miracle, only forgetfulness. These words make them remember. They dissolve fear, break doubt, burn away separation, and when a person embraces them, the impossible bows. So prepare yourself, because what I'm about to reveal is not a ritual nor a mantra of superstition. It is the return to the origin, the silent sound that gives form to matter. When you understand these words and dare to feel them as truth, the entire universe will respond, not as something coming from outside, but as the exact reflection of the consciousness that awakens and says with power, I am. The world is not cause, it is consequence. Everything you see, touch, or experience is merely the result of a previously accepted inner state. Humanity's deepest error is believing that life begins outside and ends inside, when in truth it begins inside and projects outward. Every situation that surrounds you is a vibrational photograph of what you believed yourself to be. The world is a mirror, and the mirror never creates the image, it only reflects it. The ignorant person tries to change the reflection, fights against events, strives to fix what is already an effect, and in this struggle, they perpetuate the same state. The awakened person does the opposite. They change the inner image and let the reflection take care of itself. Everything that happens in your life is the harvest of the silent words your being ceaselessly repeats. They are your assumptions, what you believe about yourself, about love, about money, about God, that shape your reality. When you believe yourself to be small, the world treats you as small. When you assume greatness, the universe reorganizes itself around your vibration. The law is exact and impersonal. It doesn't distinguish merit or effort. It merely reproduces what is assumed as truth. Therefore, consciousness is the sacred field where everything is born. To change consciousness is to change destiny. Understand that every circumstance is a messenger, not an enemy. When life shows you scarcity, it's merely a reflection of your belief in lack. When it shows you rejection, it's a mirror of the idea that you are not worthy. Suffering arises when a person reacts to the reflection instead of transforming the cause. And while they seek to alter what they see, they forget that the visible world is merely the stage of their unconscious creation. Nothing can come to you without your vibrational permission. When you finally understand this, your relationship with reality changes completely. There is no more fear of the future, because the future is merely the prolongation of what you are assuming now. There is no more envy, because what you see in others is a sample of what you can also manifest. And there is no more despair, because nothing is lost, only poorly assumed. Power returns to your hands. You become the sculptor of your existence, shaping with thought and emotion what you once believed to be beyond your reach. So begin today to observe your internal words. Every thought about yourself is a seed that will soon blossom in the garden of experience. If you desire a new life, speak differently to yourself, believe differently, feel differently. Don't try to change the mirror, change the face it reflects, for the world never challenges you, it merely obeys you. When you accept this with serenity, chaos dissolves, resistance silences, and creation becomes simple, inevitable, natural. And you will realize with silent astonishment that nothing ever happened to you. Everything always happened from you. The second principle is the living word, I am. These two words contain the secret of all creation. They are not just sounds, but the foundation of reality. Every time you say I am, you are decreeing existence. Everything that follows these words becomes flesh, becomes form, becomes destiny. They are the vibrational signature of the Creator within you. The common person uses them unconsciously and therefore lives in contradiction. They say, I am poor, I am sick, I am forgotten, and the universe faithfully responds to these commands, shaping the external world according to the internal declarations. The one who awakens learns to use I am with reverence because they understand that they are invoking the divine power within themselves. When you understand the force of I am, you realize that nothing happens to you by chance. You become the author and actor of your own story. Life ceases to be a battlefield and becomes an obedient mirror. With every thought and feeling, you are emitting invisible decrees that build the structure of your tomorrow. The I am is not an idea, it is a creative vibration. Therefore, whoever says I am free already begins to vibrate at the frequency of freedom. Whoever says I am blessed begins to perceive blessings where they once saw only obstacles. Everything that exists in the physical world is the echo of an I am pronounced in the silence of consciousness. Every flower, every star, every human gesture was born from the same principle. Energy took form because a consciousness declared, I am that. And you, as a bearer of this same creative spark, are constantly pronouncing the verb of existence, whether you know it or not. Thus, your task is not to create something new, but to correct your use of I am. The undisciplined mind uses these words in vain, creating realities of limitation and pain. The awakened mind uses them as a sacred instrument, shaping the invisible with precision and power. Do not say, I want, for wanting is to affirm that you do not yet have. Say, I am, and the universe hastens to confirm. Do not say one day I will be, for that projects your creation into a future that never arrives. Say, I am now, and time bows to your declaration. The secret lies in feeling what you affirm. A word without feeling is empty sound. A felt word is a creative decree. When your heart and your imagination unite with I am, the vibration you emit is irresistible. It crosses dimensions and returns to you as form, circumstance, miracle. Therefore, guard your words as one guards fire. Every time you pronounce I am, you are moving worlds. Use these words with wisdom, with consciousness, with love. And then you will discover what the ancients called miraculous power. Not the power to change things, but the power to remember that you are already the source of all you desire. The third principle is that of imaginative faith, the silent certainty that what is assumed inwardly is already reality, even when all senses say otherwise. Most live trapped in the visible world, believing only what their eyes confirm. But the true creator understands that the senses lie, and that imagination is the only organ that reveals what is real. Faith is not waiting for something to happen. It is accepting now that it has already happened. The one who waits doubts, the one who assumes creates. When you enter the feeling of the fulfilled desire, the invisible begins to organize itself to mirror your inner state. That is why miracles are not works of chance. They are responses to faith assumed as a present fact. Imaginative faith needs no proof. It is the proof itself. It demands no signs, asks for no confirmations. It creates the sign. When someone decides to feel the joy of already possessing what they desire, that vibration becomes an irresistible command to the universe. Everything begins to move, silently, to harmonize with the new state. People, circumstances, ideas, and coincidences arise not by magic, but because consciousness has changed its frequency. The exterior simply bows before the inner decree. Therefore, when I close my eyes and see myself living what I desire, I am not dreaming, I am creating. Imagination, when imbued with emotion and certainty, is the channel through which the invisible becomes visible. This is the secret bridge between the world of being and the world of having. And this is where many fail. They try to imagine only with the mind, but the power lies in the feeling. Feeling is the seal that authenticates creation. The universe does not respond to cold thought, it responds to vibration felt as truth. So if you desire something, don't ask for it, live it. Close your eyes and embody the feeling that it is already yours. Walk, speak, and act as if you already possess what you sought. Not because you are lying, but because you are aligning with your true reality. This is the faith that moves mountains, not because it changes the world, but because it changes the one who perceives it. Reality transforms because the observer has transformed. The one who masters imaginative faith does not live in anxiety. They know that time is merely the interval between the seed and the harvest. They do not seek to see in order to believe. They believe and then see. And when you understand this, you realize that waiting is an illusion, because the state assumed now is what determines the future. Tomorrow is merely today matured. To believe, therefore, is to choose to live now what you wish to see manifested. This is true faith, not waiting for the miracle, but being the miracle. The fourth principle is silence, the sacred space where power rests before it moves. Modern people talk too much, explain too much, over-justify themselves, and thus lose energy. They believe power lies in spoken words, but true power resides in felt words. Silence is not the absence of sound, it is the full presence of creative consciousness. It is within it that I am becomes active, invisible, irresistible. While the common person tries to convince the world, the awakened one convinces only themselves. They know that reality does not need arguments, but vibration. And vibration is not debated, it is sustained. Silence is the altar where the decree takes form. It is there in the inner stillness that things are decided before they appear. When you retreat within and say, without voice, it is done, an invisible force begins to act in dimensions that eyes cannot reach. That is why true masters are serene, not because they ignore chaos, but because they have already decreed order. The noisy mind seeks signs. The silent mind creates signs. Power does not need to be announced, because what is true vibrates on its own. When you understand silence, you cease to react. You no longer try to explain your path, prove your worth, or justify your choices. You simply know. And this knowing is an energy that dissolves resistance, attracts what is necessary, and eliminates what is superfluous. Silence is not passivity, it is invisible command. The one who masters silence masters the universe, because they have learned to act without effort. They do not demand, they declare. They do not implore, they determine. They do not repeat, they feel. The spoken word can be denied, the silent decree cannot be undone. It is law. When your mind is calm and your imagination is alive, the external world has no choice but to obey. That is why among the ancients, silence was seen as a divine language. They knew that God does not speak in noise, but in vibration. And every time you silence doubt and maintain certainty, You are hearing and being heard by the very power that creates worlds. Do not confuse silence with inertia. Silence is pure action, but internal action. It is the firm decision to maintain the desired state without yielding to fear, haste, or contrary appearances. It is the vibrational patience that knows everything is already happening, even if nothing seems to change. When you learn to rest in this state, the invisible works for you. The miracle ceases to be an exception and becomes your natural language. Because the true Creator neither cries out nor repeats, they affirm in silence, and the whole world bows to their conviction. The fifth principle is union with the invisible. It is here that the human mind surrenders and the spirit reclaims its throne. Separated humanity believes that God is distant, that the creative force is an external entity to which they must please, supplicate, and fear. But the truth is that what you call God was never outside. It always breathed within you, waiting to be recognized. When you understand this, the search ends. You no longer pray to reach something distant, but to remember what you always were. Union with the invisible is the return to the origin, to the center from which everything emanates and to which everything returns. This union does not happen with effort, but with surrender. The ego tries to control, but the spirit merely allows. When you quiet yourself and recognize, I am one with the all, the illusion of separation dissolves and the power you seem to seek begins to act through you. You are no longer the beggar who asks, you are the channel through which the miracle flows. It is in this state that the miraculous vibration is born, not from repetition but from consciousness. It is like lighting a lamp in a dark room. The light does not fight the shadow, it merely reveals itself, and the shadow disappears on its own. So it is with inner union. When you remember that everything already is, the impossible ceases to exist. The limited mind asks how, but the spirit merely declares it is. There is no effort in one who knows themselves to be one with the Creator. Effort belongs to the person who doubts. The one who is united with the invisible feels a quiet confidence, a certainty that does not depend on proof. They do not need to see results to believe, because they are the result itself in a latent state. Every breath becomes a prayer, every thought becomes a decree, every emotion a creation. And that is why everything they touch prospers, not because they ask, but because they radiate the vibration of being. When you live in this union, time loses importance, fear loses form, and desire loses anguish. Everything flows at the exact rhythm of consciousness that remains in harmony with the invisible. There is no need to chase after what is already yours. There is only the invitation to remember and to remain. To remain is the secret, because what is assumed with constancy becomes law, and what is felt as real manifests inevitably. This is the miraculous vibration that few sustain, the silent state of one who knows that nothing is lacking. The person united with the invisible does not pray for something to happen. They pray for their remembrance to awaken. They live like the ocean, recognizing itself in every wave, knowing that nothing exists outside of it. And so, effortlessly, their life becomes an extension of divine consciousness, complete, creative, and eternal. Everything that has been said converges to a single revelation. You are the beginning and the end of all experience. Nothing comes to you that has not first come from you. The world is merely your consciousness projected into form. When you understand this, struggle ceases, fear dissolves, and faith ceases to be belief. It becomes spiritual science. The forbidden words I spoke of are not magic phrases, but states of being. They are vibrations that remind a person that they were never an observer of creation, but the incarnate creator themselves, forgotten of self. Power is not in time nor in circumstances. It is in your willingness to assume now the state you wish to live. Everything you resist will persist. Everything you accept as inner truth will become reality. There are no external forces deciding your life. There is only your consciousness choosing what to experience. The law is perfect, impersonal, and faithful. It returns with exactness what your I am affirms, whether in words or in feeling. Therefore, from this moment, stop begging for external changes. What you seek is not lost, merely veiled by your disbelief. Cease the supplications. Speak with authority. The world does not need to be convinced. It needs to be instructed. And the instruction is silent. It is born from the state you assume within yourself. If you desire abundance, assume yourself to be abundant. If you desire healing, assume yourself to be whole. If you desire love, feel loved now. Nothing can be denied to you when you speak the language of certainty, because the universe doesn't hear words, it feels vibration. And the vibration of I am is the only one the cosmos recognizes as a decree. So declare in silence and in truth, I am that which I seek. Remain in this consciousness until everything around you bows before it. Thus lives the awakened creator, without fear, without waiting, without doubt. They know that everything already is, and therefore everything is given to them. These are the forbidden words, not because the world fears them, but because few dare to live what they mean. You, however, are ready. Use them with wisdom, with love, and with power. For when the I am speaks, the universe falls silent to obey. There are words that open worlds, and I am is one of them. When spoken with awareness, this simple declaration tears through the veil of illusion and reconnects you to your true identity, the creator disguised as a creature. Each time you say, I am rich, you are moving invisible forces older than time itself. You are not repeating a positive affirmation, you are awakening the divine power dormant within you, the same power that, in the beginning, said, let there be light. The world does not respond to your prayers. It responds to your vibration. And vibration is born from what you accept as true about yourself. But modern man has forgotten who he is. He lives like a beggar in a kingdom that belongs to him, asking from the outside for what already exists within. He observes his bank balance, the price of things, the scarcity around him, and judges that this is the truth. However, all that the eyes see is merely the shadow cast by the consciousness he holds. Change the inner state, and the world changes as an inevitable consequence. This is the law. Everything assumed with conviction in the invisible manifests sooner or later in the visible. When you say I am rich, you are not trying to create wealth. You are calling into existence what is already yours by right. Wealth is not something you achieve. It is a state you recognize. Gold, opportunities, connections, all are messengers of a silent decree issued by your being. The problem is that most people say, I am rich, while feeling poor, and the law, which neither judges nor discerns, responds to the feeling, not the phrase. Therefore, before repeating the words, it is necessary to understand their power. You are touching the name of God within you. When you pronounce I am, you are invoking the creative principle, and everything that follows these two words takes form. If you say, I am rich, and feel this as truth, not as a desire, but as a present reality, creation begins. Invisibly, the pieces move, circumstances adjust, doors open. And if you doubt, if you retreat, if you return to the old state of lack, creation stops. Not because the power failed, but because you denied it. That is why I tell you, guard your words, for each one is a decree. Speak with awareness, feel with conviction, and the world will respond to you in kind. Today, while the common man seeks external signs, you will learn to generate the signs from the invisible. Because when an awakened being declares, I am rich, and feels it in their heart, the entire universe bows to confirm what they have said. Everything you see is a reflection, not a cause. This is the first and most forgotten truth. The common man believes that circumstances shape his destiny, but it is destiny that bows to the circumstances he holds in his mind. The world is a perfect mirror, never a creator. It merely returns with mathematical precision the image you project from your inner state. Poverty, failure, rejection, endless waiting. None of this happens by chance. They are forms assumed by the invisible energy emanating from your consciousness. When you sustain the feeling of scarcity, the world rushes to show you more of it. When you assume abundance, the universe quietly reorganizes itself to reflect that certainty. There is no exception to this law. The mistake of most is trying to change the reflection without touching the source. They try to change the scenery, correct people, adjust their work, ask for opportunities. But the mirror doesn't create, it only copies. The world is a photograph of the state you inhabit, and it doesn't matter if you try to disguise it with words or gestures of optimism. What commands is the feeling sustained in silence. When you say, I am rich, but secretly feel fear, lack, or doubt, the vibration you emanate is one of scarcity, and that is what the mirror returns. The law knows neither pity nor punishment, only reflection. It shows you what you truly believe, not what you pretend to believe. Everything begins in the invisible. When the mind accepts an idea as true, the visible world begins to conspire to materialize it, and it does so with such naturalness that we call it coincidence, luck, or destiny. But nothing is by chance. Every encounter, every delay, every refusal is a response from the law to the state you chose to maintain. If you see yourself as poor, everything around you confirms that role. If you assume the role of abundance, everything conspires to serve you as such. Imagination is the brush that paints the picture of your reality. Feeling is the ink that gives it life. Therefore, never look to the world for proof of your power. Look to the world as proof of what you have sustained. If you don't like what you see, don't lament, just change the state. The reflection cannot resist. It's like changing your expression in front of a mirror. The glass merely obeys. Life does the same. When you change the inner self, the outer world will adjust with the same precision. Everything that seems fixed to you today is merely a photograph of an old thought, and as soon as you stop feeding it, it dissolves like mist in the sun. You are not at the mercy of fate. You are fate in action. From the moment you accept this truth, you will never again feel like a victim, because you will understand that the power has always been with you, and that everything you see is merely the echo of what you have already declared yourself to be. The word creates when it is felt as a fact. This is the difference between repeating a desire and issuing a decree. The universe does not respond to sound, but to vibration. It is not the echo of your words that moves circumstances. It is the state of consciousness that sustains them. You can say, "I am rich" 1,000 times, but if deep down you feel lack, fear, doubt, or distance between yourself and wealth, you are silently affirming the opposite. The law does not hear what you say, it hears what you are. And what you are in the deepest part of your feeling is what manifests in the world. Imagination is the temple of creation. When you close your eyes and allow yourself to feel what it would be like to live what you desire, you are touching the creative power. The rational mind says, "But I don't have it yet." Faith responds, "It already is." And it is this response that gives form to the invisible. True prayer does not ask, it assumes. It is the moment when man abandons the role of one who waits and dons the role of one who possesses. When you feel wealth as real, even if you don't have an extra cent in your pocket, the world begins to obey you. Circumstances, people, and coincidences emerge from nothing, attracted by the vibration you now inhabit. Everything that exists in the visible was first felt as truth by someone. Every invention, every empire, every discovery was born from the audacity of feeling the invisible as a fact. There is no creation without feeling. A word spoken without emotion is like a lifeless seed, but a word spoken with faith is fire. It is the word made flesh. When you say, "I am rich," and feel gratitude as if you were already living this reality, the energy begins to flow differently. Your gestures change, your posture changes, your voice changes, and the world recognizes the new pattern like a code that releases a new sequence of events. Most people fail because they want to feel after seeing, but the secret lies in feeling beforehand. Feeling is the bridge between the invisible and the visible. If you wait until the money arrives to feel rich, you will always be late in relation to your creation. You need to feel it now in the midst of scarcity, like someone discovering gold within their own chest. When this happens, the exterior bends. Opportunities that once seemed distant draw near, the right people appear, and life naturally guides you to the expression of what you already are. The power is in the instant you believe. There is no time, no distance, no obstacle. There is only the state you choose to assume. If, when saying, "I am rich," you let your body feel, your emotion respond, your mind bow, then the decree is made. And nothing will be able to prevent the world from confirming this new truth, because the entire universe is merely a mirror of your feeling, and what is felt with absolute certainty, sooner or later, becomes fact. Abandoning appearances is the third step in conscious creation, and also the most challenging. The visible world shouts that everything is real, solid, unchangeable, but it lies. What we call reality is merely the frozen shadow of an already lived inner state. When you look at what is and say, "This is the truth," you are signing a contract with the past. Faith, however, does not live by proof. It lives by inner vision. When the spiritual man says, "I am rich," he does so even when surrounded by contradictory signs, because he knows that the visible is merely the echo of the invisible. Everything that seems fixed, your bank account, your conditions, your relationships, is merely energy condensed by the assumption you chose to inhabit. When you refuse to accept appearances, something extraordinary begins to happen. The old reflection loses its power. The natural mind rebels, tries to convince you that you are lying, that you need to be realistic. But faith has never been realistic. It is creative. Realism is the prison of those who gave up using their imagination. While you wait for the scenery to change to believe, you remain a slave to the mirror. When you believe before seeing, you become the master of the image. There is a silent war between the visible and the invisible. The common man lives reacting to what he sees. The awakened one responds only to what he feels as true. Therefore, when the world shows scarcity, he smiles and maintains inner abundance. When the world shouts, "There's no way out," he walks as if he has already arrived. This is the discipline of masters, remaining faithful to the vision even when everything seems to contradict it. Resistance does not come from outside. It comes from internal doubt, from the temptation to look at the reflection again and believe that it is the cause. To abandon appearances is therefore an act of spiritual courage. It is to look at nothingness and affirm, "Here is my harvest." It is to observe the desert and feel the rain. It is to see scarcity and celebrate abundance. This inversion is what moves the invisible forces. When you stop fighting against conditions and simply assume the new state, the conditions themselves begin to transform. The universe cannot tolerate contradiction. It must align the exterior with the interior you sustain with faith. Each time you look at the world and it tells you no, remember that the world is deaf. It only repeats what your consciousness ordered it yesterday. If you want a new answer, change the order. Abandon what you see and remain in what you know to be true, because the invisible, sustained with conviction, always overcomes the visible. And when man chooses to ignore appearances and firmly maintain his inner vision, reality itself bows before him, recognizing its true master. Repetition molds the state. This is how the invisible solidifies into form, how the abstract becomes destiny. Each time you say, "I am rich," with conviction, you are building brick by brick the mental structure that the world will be compelled to mirror. Repetition is not a mechanical ritual, it is a process of deep reprogramming. The human mind has been conditioned for years to believe in limitation, effort, and lack. Each "I am rich" pronounced with faith is a hammer blow to the wall of that conditioning. With time, the stones of doubt begin to give way, and the new state emerges naturally as if it had always been there. The secret lies in the quality of the feeling, not the quantity of repetitions. You can say it 1,000 times, and nothing will happen if your heart is absent. But a single time spoken with total certainty can move mountains. The purpose of repeating is to keep the vibration alive, to prevent the old state from returning to its throne. When fear tries to return, when appearance contradicts your faith, it is time to reaffirm "I am," not as a desperate plea, but as one who remembers a forgotten truth. "I am rich" is not a desire. It is a recognition. It is saying to the universe, "I remember who I am." Repetition sustains the fire of creation. Just as a sculptor strikes marble until the desired form emerges, you strike your consciousness with the right word until the new state becomes natural. In the beginning, it will seem strange, artificial, forced, but persist. The old state, of fear, of lack, of doubt, tries to survive. It will whisper to you that nothing has changed. It will point to the reflection in the mirror and say, "Look, it's still the same." Do not listen to it. Keep affirming, keep feeling. Each time you do so, you are weakening the old pattern and strengthening the new one. And then comes the point where you no longer need to repeat, because the state has already become your dwelling. The phrase "I am rich" is no longer a practice, it is a realization. The feeling of abundance becomes so natural that it begins to overflow into everything you do. Your gaze changes, your breathing changes, the way you walk and speak changes, and the world obedient changes with you. Wealth once sought becomes inevitable because it is no longer something you seek. It is something you are. To persist is true devotion, not to the phrase, but to the state it awakens. The universe does not resist consistency. It bows before silent certainty. Therefore, keep repeating until every cell of your being vibrates in harmony with your declaration. And when "I am rich" becomes the natural sound of your heart, you will know that the mirror of the world will have no choice but to reflect the splendor of your conviction. Nothing external has power over you. This is the supreme law that the mind fears and the heart recognizes. From childhood, you were taught to believe that the world dictates the rules, that the economy defines your livelihood, that people determine your worth, that chance decides your destiny. But this is humanity's great illusion, to think that power is outside. Everything that seems to limit you is merely the shadow of your own assumption of limitation. When you believe you depend on something external, you abdicate the throne and become a servant of what you created. But when you return to the consciousness of "I am," the scepter returns to your hands, and the world, once your master, kneels again as your reflection. No government, no crisis, no person has authority over the state you choose to inhabit. Reality is a faithful servant. It obeys the vibration of your being. You can be in the midst of scarcity and still live in abundance, because true wealth is not matter, it is consciousness. When you assume "I am rich," you are not denying the world, you are redesigning it. The invisible begins to move in your favor, and conditions adjust in ways that reason will never understand. The spiritual man does not react to the exterior. He commands inwardly, and the exterior bows. Everything around you is neutral. It is your beliefs that animate it, that give it form and purpose. If you believe that something can harm you, you have just granted it that power. But if you know that nothing can touch what you are in essence, you live untouchable. Disease, debt, abandonment, everything dissolves before the consciousness that knows that "I am" is the source and not the effect. You are the primary cause of everything you experience. There is no bad luck, no cruel fate, no opposing forces. There is only you forgetting or remembering your power. When you look at the world and see injustices, chaos, and limitation, remember, none of this has independent existence. They are waves projected by the collective unconscious, but you can rise above them, not by fighting, not by resisting, but by remaining in silence in the certainty of your state. That is where true dominion lies. He who governs the invisible is never governed by the visible. And so what once imprisoned you transforms into a scene of victory. Because when a man rises in consciousness and affirms with unwavering faith, "I am free, I am rich, I am whole," the entire universe bows before the authority of that word. Circumstances change, obstacles dissolve, and the world recognizes the voice of one who has remembered again. The power was never outside. It was always within you. Now, quiet your mind and listen with your soul. Nothing more needs to be asked, only recognized. What you seek already is. Wealth, health, love, peace. All of this exists within "I am." The man who understands this truth forever abandons the habit of supplicating to the world. He stops chasing things and begins to attract them by the simple act of being. The spiritual beggar, who once implored for signs, transforms into a silent king because he has learned to command from within. There is no need to shout at the universe. The decree spoken in silence is more powerful than 1,000 words shouted in despair. Close your eyes and feel the vibration of one who already is. Do not ask yourself, "When will it happen?" For that is the language of time, and power lives in the now. Feel the presence of what you desire as a completed fact. Imagination is the womb of creation, and all reality is born from it. When you hold an image with faith, you are not waiting for something to come to you. You are merely allowing the invisible to reveal itself. Everything we call manifestation is merely the invisible becoming visible, obeying your state of being. Therefore, from today onwards, do not beg the world any longer. Do not kneel before appearances, nor let yourself be deceived by old reflections. Declare in silence with firmness and gratitude, I am rich, I am free, I am whole. Live as if it were already true, because it is. Walk, speak, breathe, and think from this new state, and you will see the universe move with divine precision to confirm your word. You are the creative center of your reality. Nothing is lacking, nothing threatens you, nothing defines you beyond what you choose to assume. And when doubt tries to visit you, remember, the visible world is merely the mirror, and the mirror only reflects what is before it. Change the state and the reflection changes with you. This is the law, immutable, faithful, eternal. Thus live in peace, because the power that moves worlds resides within you. And when you finally clothe yourself in the consciousness of I am, the entire universe will recognize its true creator and bow before your silent certainty.